After the Cold War between Pablo and me, he brought his new girlfriend to the restaurant where I worked. When I served the food, he nitpicked on purpose. The girl asked, "Did you two date?" Pablo sneered. "A charity case my dad sponsored. We're from totally different worlds. Why would I want her?" I untied my apron and left in silence. One of his friends said, "Gloria's probably off somewhere crying again." Pablo replied indifferently, "She won't cry for long. She'll come begging me to help with her tuition soon enough." But when I used the money I earned from work-study to apply for an exchange program at the University of Hong Kong, he finally couldn't sit still and knocked on my door. "Is it really that hard for you to just lower your head and apologize?" What he didn't know was, I was already on the plane to Hong Kong. The debt I owed his family, I've paid in full. From now on, we owe each other nothing. Chapter 01. Dragging my exhausted body, I returned from the restaurant to Pablo's house. Pablo's father, Nestor, was sitting on the couch. "Gloria, your teacher called me today. He said you applied for an exchange program at the University of Hong Kong?" I poured him a glass of water, trying my best to act natural. "Yes. I submitted the paperwork this week. If it goes through, I'll leave in half a month." He took the glass, sipped slowly, and after a moment of silence, said, "Gloria, is it because Pablo has a new girlfriend again?" I smiled. I used to get upset about things like that. Not anymore. Just hours earlier, Pablo had deliberately brought his new girlfriend to the restaurant where I worked. When I brought over their food, he said the rice was too hard, then claimed there was a hair in the dish, all just to provoke me. When his girlfriend noticed something was off and asked him if we dated, he scoffed. "A charity case my dad funded. Totally out of my league. Why would I ever want her?" In that instant, it hit me. Why had he never once acknowledged our relationship publicly? Because deep down, he always looked down on where I came from. At that moment, I let it all go. Pablo and I were never meant to walk the same path. So when my teacher called and asked if I wanted to apply for the exchange program to the University of Hong Kong, I said yes without hesitation. Nestor tried to persuade me. "We've talked about your future before. The plan was for both you and Pablo to study abroad together. It's just a matter of 2 more weeks." "Thank you, Nestor. You've already helped me so much. But this time, I want to try forging my own path. A path that doesn't include Pablo." Nestor let out a soft sigh. "Does Pablo know?" "No, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't tell him either. I'll be heading to Hong Kong in just half a month. Until then, I want peace. No more drama. No one to interfere. Dreams always fade when morning comes. Illusions of fate eventually dissolve into nothingness. Pablo, from now on, the world is wide, and we are strangers going our separate ways, never to cross paths again." Chapter 02. I took the money I earned from my work-study jobs and paid the rest of the semester's tuition at the finance office. As I walked out, I ran into Pablo's girlfriend, Helen. She saw me too, her lips curling into a mocking smile. She exchanged a knowing glance with the friend beside her. The girl struck first. Well, isn't it the pathetic girl who got dumped and still clings to Pablo?" The others burst into laughter. I took a deep breath. "I'm not clinging to him." Helen stepped closer. She leaned in and said slowly by my ear, "Word is, you were with him for 10 years, and he never even gave you a title. There was never anything between us." I said calmly. She scoffed. "You pretending not to care? Honestly, that's hilarious. Good dogs don't block the way, move aside. Would you?" Then she slammed into me hard, and the tennis ball in her hand rolled to the ground. At the same time, her friend shoved me again. In the pushing and shoving, I accidentally stepped on the tennis ball. It had rained last night, and the ground was still damp. The ball rolled across the pavement, now grimy and dirty. She gasped, crouched down, clutching it to her chest, wiping it while sobbing. "I didn't even do anything to you. Why'd you ruin my stuff?" "This was a gift from Pablo. I clean it every day. And now look how filthy it is." Just then, one of Helen's friends spotted someone nearby. "Helen, stop crying, your man's here to back you up." I followed her gaze. Pablo stood under the street lamp with his bag slung over one shoulder. His expression was cold and distant. My heart twisted. I didn't know how long he had been standing there, and I didn't know how much of the scene he'd witnessed. I said softly. She pushed me. That's how I stepped on it. Pablo looked at me, his gaze like ice. Wipe it clean for her. Helen looked up at him with teary eyes. It's fine, Pablo. I don't want to upset Senior Gloria. Pablo walked over and snatched the tennis ball from her hands. Pick it up and clean it. The ball hit my clean white t-shirt like a projectile. In an instant, a large, muddy stain spread across the fabric. That ugly blotch mirrored my shattered heart, filthy and glaring. Under everyone's gaze, I crouched down, picked up the ball, and wiped it over and over on my clothes. Then I handed it back to his girlfriend. Helen took the ball and smiled sweetly. Thanks. Just then, a car came speeding toward us. Almost by instinct, Pablo rushed over and pulled her into his arms, swiftly dodging to the side. The spinning tires sent a wave of dirty water splashing, soaking me from head to toe without mercy. I watched as he held Helen tightly, shielding her from harm, and in that moment of daze, I remembered. I used to protect him just like that. Chapter 03. When I was 10, Uncle Nestor took me out of the orphanage. Pablo gave me a cold glance. That new dress she's wearing, did you buy it for her? Nestor froze, a flicker of awkwardness flashing across his face. Pablo understood immediately and let out a mocking laugh. You broke your promise to take me to Disneyland, and forgot to buy the Lego I wanted. But you're so eager to please some stray you picked up from who knows where. Nestor, you really are a model father. In a fit of anger, Nestor slapped him, right in front of me. Pablo was stunned. When he came to his senses, his eyes turned red. He shot me a hateful glare, then ran upstairs clutching his burning cheek. I hate you, and I hate that stray too. Nestor sighed and retreated to his study, while I stood frozen in the garden, completely at a loss. After a long while, I took the little money I had and bought that Lego set. Summoning all my courage, I knocked on Pablo's door. Pablo, this Lego is for you. But he threw it straight down the stairs. Who asked you to butt in? And stop calling me your brother. The door slammed shut. I went downstairs, picked up the Lego, wiped it clean, and placed it at his door. From that day on, I began trying to please Pablo, because only by doing so could I have a family. Only then could I avoid being sent back to the orphanage. Nestor was always busy and often overlooked Pablo's needs, but I remembered them all carefully. Pablo wanted to catch fireflies, but Nestor forgot, so I spent the whole evening in the garden chasing fireflies. Then, out of breath, I ran upstairs and knocked on his door. He opened it with an impatient face. What do you want now? I took out a glass jar, eyes sparkling. Guess what's inside? Pablo frowned and twisted off the lid. In an instant, a cluster of fireflies burst out from the mouth of the jar. The soft green light illuminated the dark night, flickering like a dream, glowing in and out like a fantasy. Pablo's eyes widened slightly, the little lights reflected in his pupils. But only for a moment. He closed the lid with a cold expression. Are you trying to win me over? Caught off guard, I froze in place. He looked up and, for the first time, really looked at me. He handed me a tissue. Only then did I realize I was drenched in sweat. Kid, I'm not easy to please. Call me by my name from now on. With that, he closed the door. I sat outside for a long time, deep in thought, and suddenly wondered, since he accepted the fireflies, did that mean he accepted me too? From that day on, Pablo no longer went to school alone. Behind his small figure was a smaller one, me. In middle school, he started skipping classes. When Nestor found out, he grabbed a broom to hit him. I rushed in, crying, and shielded him with my body. It's my fault for not stopping him in time. If you have to hit someone, hit me instead. Nestor struck my palms a few times. Pablo, from now on, when you mess up, your sister gets punished. If you don't want her to suffer, then behave yourself. Pablo never skipped class again. Later, when he failed an exam, he walked aimlessly, looking lost. A car sped toward him. I ran up behind him, pulling him aside just in time. We stood and watched another classmate up ahead. Drenched from head to toe by the splash, Pablo stared blankly for a moment, then suddenly laughed. I didn't know what he was laughing at, but because he laughed, I laughed too. Back then, It never crossed my mind that one day he'd do the same thing I once did for him, protect someone, but that someone wasn't me. Chapter 04. I walked home alone after school. After taking a shower, I started to feel a bit feverish and dizzy. In a haze, I drifted off to sleep. In front of me stood Pablo, still not very tall at the time. He shook me awake. Gloria, wake up. I'm taking you to see something cool. Why did you bring me here? It's pitch black. I was sitting on a rock, while Pablo stood behind me with his hands in his pockets, mumbling, just wait. Stop talking. I didn't even get the chance to ask what we were waiting for. Suddenly, a shooting star streaked across the night sky. I stared at it for a moment, then grabbed Pablo's arm excitedly. Pablo, look! A shooting star, make a wish! Pablo's eyes paused for a moment on my hand resting on his arm. Then he averted his gaze awkwardly. What's the point of making wishes? I'm not like you silly girls. I pressed my palms together and made a sincere wish. I wish Pablo will always be happy and won't have to deal with too many troubles. When I opened my eyes, they met his. In the depths of his dark, inky eyes, there was a ripple. But by the time we got to high school, Pablo had changed. He grew much taller. I only reached his shoulder. At school, many girls liked him, and he started to distance himself from me, subtly. But surely, he had better friends now, and gentler people to confide in. During PE class, I twisted my ankle while running. Someone went to call Pablo. But he only said coldly, I'm not a doctor. Why are you coming to me? The one who helped me up was a new transfer student, Eric. Out of nowhere, Pablo came storming over and shoved Eric away. What do you think you're doing? Stay away from her. Eric glanced at him calmly. She's injured. I was going to take her to the nurse's office. And who are you to her? What makes you think she needs you? With that, Pablo crouched down, his face dark. Gloria, get on. I obediently lay on his back. As Pablo carried me out, our classmates quietly made way for us. That stretch of road felt so long, as if a lifetime passed in those few steps. My cheek rested lightly against his back. And I asked softly, he was just trying to help me. Why were you so harsh with him? I don't care. Just stay away from him. My chest ached with a strange tightness. The question I had buried for years finally escaped my lips. Did you ever like me? A quiet, steady voice reached my ears. I did. I smiled, finally at peace. That's enough. If you liked me, even just once, then I have no regrets. That was the last time I ever dreamed of you. After that, don't show up in my dreams again. Are you really dreaming? Or are you just saying that so I'd hear it? I jolted awake, and the first thing I saw was Pablo's 21-year-old face. Chapter 05. I sat up. Why are you back? The way he looked at me, calm and distant. This is my home. Why wouldn't I come back? I didn't say anything more. He was right. This was Pablo's home. Even after 10 years, I was still an outsider, living under someone else's roof. I had a place to stay, clothes to wear, a school to attend. I should have been grateful. How could I dare wish for more? I just thought, you came back earlier than usual today, so it caught me off guard. After he started college, he came home later and later. Sometimes, he didn't come back for days. He reached out toward my face. I instinctively pulled back, but his hands still brushed against my skin. Your face was red all afternoon. You're a grown-up now. Don't you know how to take care of yourself? You didn't even realize you had a fever? I touched my forehead. I was feeling hot and a little sweaty. It'll go away after a nap. He sat down beside my bed. I subtly shifted inward, away from him. I'll take you to the hospital. Once the fever's down, you'll buy Helen a new tennis ball. She cried for a long time this afternoon. I clutched the blanket tightly. She pushed me. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to apologize. There was a flicker of anger in Pablo's eyes. Gloria, ever since you turned 18, you've really grown a temper too. He stood up, looking down at me coldly. But don't forget, you still haven't paid this semester's tuition. Lately, I'd been working part-time jobs and saving up. Just this morning, I had already paid my tuition in full. I no longer feared Pablo's threats about money. Go apologize. After you do, I'll transfer you the money right away. No need. Pablo's expression darkened at my refusal. Fine. Let's see how long you last without my money. Chapter 06. That day, our academic advisor held a year-wide meeting. I'd had a fever for several days in a row, and by the time I rushed to the classroom, I was already late. As soon as I stepped in, I heard Pablo let out a soft chuckle. The advisor's probably going to chase down the ones who haven't paid their tuition yet. His gaze swept over me, casual, yet deliberate. Can't imagine who still hasn't paid up. There's still 10 minutes before the advisor comes in. If you rush to pay now, you might just make it. I deliberately avoided his gaze and walked to the furthest corner from him to sit down. But the next second, he called my name out loud. Gloria. In an instant, all eyes turned to me. I felt like a deer caught in headlights, nowhere to hide. Pablo wore a faint smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. You're the class rep, aren't you? Any idea what the advisor's going to announce today? I coughed lightly, trying to ease both my nerves and the lingering fever. Then I met his eyes head-on. Two things. First, the issue of tuition fees. Pablo exchanged a glance with Helen. Then both of them laughed aloud. I pressed my lips together. And second, the exchange program with the University of Hong Kong. Pablo scoffed. Who even bothers applying for that nonsense? Helen thought for a moment. Actually, quite a few people applied, but only 2 got selected in the end. Right then, someone chimed in from the crowd. You think Gloria might have applied? Honestly, it's possible. She is ranked first in our year. Voices flooded toward me like a rising tide. I felt dizzy, like I was caught in a whirlpool, surrounded, with nowhere to escape. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the front row. A glass cup smashed against the floor. Helen gasped in shock, grabbing Pablo's arm with a distressed expression. Pablo, are you okay? Pablo's voice was calm, indifferent, no emotion at all. I'm fine. But in the very next moment, he turned his head and locked eyes with me across the crowd. I glanced at him briefly, then lowered my head again. I coughed twice, trying to steady myself. Someone spoke up again, tone teasing. Oh, right. Gloria totally has a thing for Pablo. If Pablo didn't apply for the exchange, she probably wouldn't have applied either. Then they called out to him. Pablo, are you going to Hong Kong or not? No. Pablo's answer was curt and cold. After a pause, he repeated, even more firmly, I'm not going to Hong Kong. Chapter 07. Just then, the advisor pushed open the door and stepped up to the podium. The room instantly fell silent. My phone suddenly vibrated. When I checked it, Pablo had just transferred me 10,000 yuan. Hurry up and pay. I don't want people thinking my family's broke. In the end, it's still my family's face that gets embarrassed. Without a word, I sent the money right back, but my hand was trembling slightly. Gloria, are you insane? Do you want everyone to laugh at you? I actually made the first move, and this is how you repay me? I closed my phone and refused to look at his messages. The classroom was still. The advisor began reading the list of students who hadn't paid tuition. I kept my head down, fingers subconsciously twisting the hem of my shirt, the sound of my heartbeat echoing in my ears. When she finished reading, and my name wasn't on the list, I quietly exhaled in relief. I looked up and saw Pablo, stunned, suddenly shoot to his feet. Did you miss someone? He blurted out. The finance office double-checked. The list is confirmed. Do you have a problem? The advisor asked, frowning slightly. That's impossible, Pablo said in disbelief. There's no way Gloria isn't on the list. Everyone in the class knew what was between us. The advisor's expression darkened a little. Gloria's tuition shows as successfully paid. But I didn't give her any money. Everyone knew. I was the poor student sponsored by his family. My dignity had always been trampled by him, and I never dared to talk back. But this time, I paid it myself. I've been working part-time these past weeks. I already paid the tuition last week. My voice was soft, but in the quiet classroom, every word rang loud and clear. Pablo whipped his head around to stare at me. His gaze was complex, as if trying to see right through me. In the end, he slowly sat back down and said nothing. The advisor continued speaking. Lastly, everyone. This year's selection for the University of Hong Kong exchange program was especially competitive. From many applicants, the school evaluated all candidates based on multiple criteria and finally selected 2 students. The official list will be announced next week. At that moment, Helen raised her voice playfully. Teacher, can you give us a hint? Like, are they boys or girls? She had always been the lively type. The advisor just chuckled and replied, both students are outstanding. One has shown excellent performance in academic research, and the other has rich experience in hands-on practical activities. That immediately piqued everyone's curiosity. The room buzzed with guesses and speculation. I lowered my head slightly, quietly praying that the advisor wouldn't say any more. After a long silence, Pablo suddenly spoke in a casual tone. Teacher, who in our grade is best at academic research? His gaze drifted toward me, half smiling, half mocking. I was the only student in our class who had published 2 SCI papers. Helen turned to look at me too. Gloria, I think you've published papers before, right? Chapter 08. I was startled for a moment, but forced myself to stay calm as I replied. There are plenty of students in our grade who've published papers. Everyone's doing really well. The advisor glanced at me, then looked at Pablo. After a pause, she said, Gloria has always had excellent grades, and she's made notable achievements in academic research. But the selection wasn't based on grades alone. The weight on my chest lifted all at once. I looked up and met the advisor's calm, reassuring gaze. I finally felt at ease. Pablo raised his eyebrows, not letting go. Then what about the practical activity side? There must be some clue, right? The advisor thought for a moment and replied, it involved volunteer work, student organizations, and various extracurricular experiences. Helen pouted from the side. Ugh, that's still way too vague. Forget it. I give up guessing. Pablo lowered his head, as if lost in thought. The advisor said, all right, everyone. The official list will be posted soon. Go home and get some rest. The crowd began to file out of the classroom. As soon as I stepped through the door, I saw Pablo leaning casually against the wall, arms crossed. His eyes were filled with suspicion, staring at me like he was trying to read the truth from my face. You've changed. I haven't. He went quiet for a second, then asked, Gloria, did you apply? Before he could finish, Helen came up from behind and hugged him playfully. I'm so tired, Pablo. Let's take a nice bath and get some sleep tonight. I even bought a new nightgown. Pablo perked up and didn't spare me another glance. I couldn't quite describe how I felt. Just a heavy, tight pressure in my chest. These past few days, I'd been burning with fever on and off. Coming here today had taken everything I had. I barely made it a few steps out of the classroom before collapsing. When I opened my eyes again, it was evening. The hospital room was empty. Only me. My phone was flooded with unread messages. One of my roommates had texted, see? You worked yourself to the bone just for a bit of money. Now you're in the hospital. But Pablo does care about you. I heard the moment you passed out. He rushed to find you. Pablo, he brought me to the hospital? I scrolled down a few more messages, but none were from him. My throat was parched. After resting a moment, I held onto the bed rail and made my way out to the nurse's station for water. As I passed the room next door, something caught my eye. I froze. As if struck by lightning, I had never seen this side of Pablo. He looked gentle, patiently, tenderly helping Helen drink some water. Drink some warm water. Feeling better now? Helen nodded, her eyes full of affection as she looked at him. Much better, Pablo. It's just a little cold. You didn't have to drag me to the hospital like this. I turned to leave, but my throat betrayed me. I let out 2 soft coughs. The people in the room looked over. Chapter 09. I hurried away. Pablo came chasing after me. The moment he saw me, he frowned, a completely different expression from the tenderness just now. Why did you come out here by yourself? I wanted to get some water. Only then did he notice the bottle in my hand. I'll get it for you. Just go back and lie down. I quickly hid the bottle behind my back. Head lowered, refusing to look at him. It's fine. The nurse's station is just ahead. I can get it myself. Pablo looked at my stubborn expression, his brows furrowing even deeper. He reached out, as if he was going to snatch the water bottle from my hands, but in the end, held himself back. You're still sick. Stop pushing yourself. Go lie down. His tone carried a trace of command. I shook my head. I can manage. With that, I walked around him and quickly made my way to the nurse's station. When I returned to the room with the water, I saw Pablo sitting in the chair, legs casually spread. Only when I walked in did he glance at me lazily and get up. He stood in front of me, hesitated for a moment, then said stiffly, "Take your medicine. The doctor said you collapsed due to exhaustion and fever. You need to rest and recover properly." He hesitated again, then placed the medicine on the bedside cabinet. I left it on the table. I said softly, "Thanks. You can go now." But he didn't leave. Instead, he sat down in the chair beside the bed. All this over a little money. Was it really worth ruining your health? I looked up at him but said nothing. If you don't have money, just ask me. Going out to work while sick. It's like you don't even care about your body. If people hear about this, they'll think my family's gone bankrupt. As he spoke, I couldn't help but feel it was absurd. The one who used money to threaten me again and again was him. The one who watched me struggle and work myself sick was also him. And now, the one pretending to be the good guy was still him. I didn't want to argue anymore. I just wanted him gone. You should leave now. Your girlfriend might not like seeing us alone together like this. His voice clearly turned colder. So that's it. You saw me giving Helen water. But not you. That's why you didn't let me help you earlier, right? I pressed my lips together. I just think, you have a girlfriend now. We should keep some distance. Are you jealous of Helen? I'm not. Pablo frowned, his eyes sharp and cold. I really didn't expect this from you. You're a girl yourself. And you still can't stand me being good to another woman? What, do you just love female rivalry that much? Chapter 10. I looked at him quietly, that unhidden look of annoyance and contempt in his eyes. I took it all in. If it were the past, I would have been hurt. I would have tried to explain things for a long time. But now, I was simply too tired. Ever since college, Pablo had always instinctively taken other sides, and used it to hurt me. He would even joke about my pain, just to make his girlfriend laugh. He'd bring her to the place where I worked part-time. Look, this is the poor scholarship girl my dad sponsors. Pablo, if your family's sponsoring her, why is she still working part-time? He smirked. She's just stubborn, too proud to apologize to me. The girl giggled. She's such a funny little poor girl. And he laughed along. I like to call her the most strong-willed scholarship case I've ever seen. Back in middle and high school, whenever someone so much as said the word scholarship kid, he would flip the table on the spot and end up fighting with them. The teacher would call Nestor to complain, and he'd always get a beating when he got home. I used to help him apply ointment afterward, heart aching with every bruise. Pablo, don't fight with others anymore, okay? He'd lower his gaze and mutter, "No one's going to call you that ever again." Pulled out from the memory. I looked at the Pablo standing in front of me now, the boy in my memories, and the man before me. They had the same face, but they were two completely different people. And suddenly, I smiled. So that's it. The person I loved was the Pablo from back then, the brash, proud, soft-hearted boy who would fight the world for me. Not the man standing here now. I had finally let go. Completely. Chapter 11. He frowned. What are you smiling about? Burned out your brain or something? I didn't answer. Instead, I asked, Pablo, were you the one who brought me to the hospital? He froze, then quickly looked away, clearly uncomfortable. No, wasn't me. Good. He stared at me for a long time, but in the end, He said nothing, and turned to head back to the other room. A little while later, someone appeared at the door, holding a lunchbox. I was surprised when I saw who it was. Eric? He walked toward me with a soft smile. As warm as spring sunshine. Long time no see. It really had been a long time. After high school, Pablo and I had both gotten into this university. Eric had, too. Strangely, in 3 whole years on campus. I had never once run into him. It was like we'd been moving on completely different paths, never crossing. He gently opened the lunchbox, and the aroma of hot food filled the room. Feeling okay? Eat a little if you can. Grateful. I nodded and kept thanking him as I dug in. Eating so fast I nearly choked. He handed me a thermos cup just in time. Smiling gently, I just bought this. I rinsed it with boiling water before I filled it. Thank you. I gave an awkward little smile. He sat quietly, watching me eat. Was it you who brought me here? After finishing, I looked up at him. He nodded, eyes filled with concern. After the meeting, I was planning to find you, but when I stepped into the hallway, I saw you collapsed on the floor. You were looking for me? I was a little surprised. Is something wrong? After all, we hadn't spoken in years, and now he suddenly appeared at my bedside. He paused briefly, his gaze steady and focused as he said, "When I heard the advisor's announcement, I had a feeling you might be one of the ones going to HKU. His words caught me off guard. I hadn't expected him to come here because of that. I hesitated. Should I tell him the truth? After all, I didn't want any drama before heading off to Hong Kong. If this got out, Pablo, I didn't want to get dragged into more unnecessary messes. I lowered my eyes, avoiding Eric's searching gaze. He seemed to sense my hesitation. His voice softened. It's okay if you don't want to say. I was just worried. I know how hard you've worked. If you really did get in, then I just want to say, I'm happy for you. I looked up and met Eric's clear, sincere eyes. The words I wasn't going to say suddenly slipped out. Yes, I applied. Anne. I've already received the acceptance. His eyes lit up, and a genuine smile spread across his face. I knew it. I just knew you'd make it. Then he added, the other person who got in is me. My eyes widened slightly. That's quite the coincidence. He smiled warmly. Yeah, a very lucky one. Just then, the door swung open. Pablo walked in, face dark with anger. His eyes scanned between Eric and me, and finally settled coldly on me. No wonder you were so eager to get rid of me. Gloria, you really are something. Even in a hospital, you can cozy up to another guy. Chapter 12. I frowned, anger bubbling up inside me. Don't say such nonsense. Eric just came to check on me and brought me some food. Pablo shot Eric a cold glare. Check on you? Bring food? Since when did you two get so close? Eric stood up, calm and composed. Pablo, the way you're talking to Gloria isn't right. We're all classmates. I saw she was sick and wanted to make sure she was okay. Pablo's voice turned sharp, like a blade. What's it to you? She lives in my house. If someone should be checking on her, it should be someone from my family. Eric smiled faintly. And where is your family, then? If you truly cared about her, why would I even get the chance to step in? Pablo, fancy words alone won't win a girl's heart. In that moment, Eric felt like a completely different person. Steady, unshaken, back in school. Because of Pablo's wealthy background, most people gave him leeway, kept their heads down, didn't challenge him. If Eric hadn't been here today, I had nearly forgotten. In the capital, Eric's family had just as much power and influence. Pablo's face turned pale, then red, then pale again. Before things escalated further, Helen appeared just in time and pulled him away. The room fell silent. Only Eric and I remained. Thanks for just now. If you hadn't stepped in, I wouldn't have known how to handle that. It's nothing. I just didn't want to watch him bully you. After a short pause, he asked, feeling better after the 4? Much better. It's nothing serious. Really, just been too tired lately. He looked at me, a faint shimmer passing through his eyes. Does Pablo know you're going to HKU? No, he doesn't. Eric nodded knowingly, a gentle smile spreading across his face. The advisor will announce it on Monday. I'm planning to leave this Sunday. Eric nodded again. Sounds good. Then, see you at HKU. Saturday. I was at home packing my things. After all these years, everything I owned in Pablo's house fit neatly into a single suitcase. Nestor knocked on my door. Gloria. Pablo's birthday party is tonight. Same place as always. You young people can enjoy yourselves. I won't be going, work stuff. It was only then that I realized I had completely forgotten. It was Pablo's birthday. Chapter 13. I opened the drawer. Inside was the gift I'd prepared for Pablo. I had started working on it a long time ago. It was a photo album. Ever since 10-year-old me received the camera from Nestor, from that moment on, there had only ever been one subject in my photos: Pablo. I opened the album. Next to it were pages filled with words, written months ago, line by line, carefully. Pablo, the day you skipped class, I lied for you for the first time. I was so nervous back then. Pablo, your smile is really beautiful. Can you smile a little more in the future? Not a single word mentioned love, yet every word was full of it. I let out a soft smile, picked up the album, and slipped it into a gift bag, then took a cab to the clubhouse. The moment I walked in, the roomful of laughter came to a sudden halt. You see? I told you Gloria wouldn't forget, but she's never been late before, especially not for Pablo's birthday. Something feels different about her today. The smile on Pablo's face slowly faded. He sat with a tense expression, refusing to look at me. I knew he was still angry about what happened with Eric, and even more upset that I hadn't gone to comfort him afterward. I walked up to him. Pablo, happy birthday. Only then did he lift his eyes to look at me. What did you bring? He opened the album with clear disinterest, but the next moment, he froze. Helen only took one glance, and her face immediately soured. She clung to Pablo's arm. Pablo, stop looking at that. Come dance with me, okay? But for the first time, he ignored her. He walked straight up to me. So, you know you were wrong? I blinked, almost amused, but I still nodded. Just to play along. He smiled faintly. Good. As long as you know I'm not petty, I forgive you. Let's just go back to how we were before. I smiled politely. Sure. He flipped through a few more pages. Hey, how come I'm the only one in here? There's not a single photo of you. That sentence hit something deep inside me. It was as if fate had told me all along. In Pablo's world, whether past or future, there would never be room for me. Chapter 14. During the party games, I kept losing, ended up drinking 3 glasses in a row. I was about to lift the 4th glass, when Pablo suddenly reached over, took it, and downed it himself. Helen's face turned a deep shade of purple. Everyone looked from me to her, utterly confused, a little tipsy. I got up to go to the bathroom. As I washed my hands, I glanced at myself in the mirror. My cheeks were flushed red. I took out my cushion compact from my bag, and gently tapped my face. Just as I stepped out of the bathroom, someone slammed into me, hard. My bag hit the floor, everything scattering. Helen stepped right on one of my compacts, crushed it, but I didn't even have time to care. My eyes were locked on the exchange student recommendation form, lying on the floor. My heart skipped a beat. I rushed forward to grab it, but Helen was faster. She unfolded the creased paper. At first, she froze. Then slowly, a smile crept onto her face. So that's what this is. Give it back. You brought this here. What were you planning to do with it? I carry it with me so I don't lose it. Is that a problem? Before Helen could respond, Pablo's voice rang out behind us. What are you two doing? Standing outside the bathroom? Helen instinctively hid the recommendation form behind her back. Pablo, why are you here? You were gone so long. I thought maybe you'd had too much to drink, so I came to check on you. Then he looked at me. Did you drink too much? No. He chuckled lightly. Well, Once my dad finishes handling our study abroad paperwork tomorrow, we'll be off to the UK together. Both Helen and I froze. Her expression stiffened immediately. Pablo, you should head back. I want to talk to Gloria alone. He gave her a suspicious glance. What do you even have to talk to her about? What are you hiding behind your back? Chapter 15. Helen froze, terrified. She stayed silent for a long while. Just as Pablo reached out to grab the paper, I spoke up at the right moment. It's a surprise. From her. Pablo's hand paused midair. If you look now, it won't be any fun. Go back out first. I added casually. Pablo blinked, glancing at me, then at Helen. As he walked away, he muttered, "This is insane. Since when do love rivals get along like this?" Once he was out of sight, Helen stared at me for a second, then shoved the paper back into my bag. "Do me a favor, keep it tucked away. Stop flashing it around." I pulled out a firefly-shaped jade pendant and handed it to her. "Didn't you say you were giving him a surprise? Then make it convincing, or he'll get suspicious." Helen snatched the pendant out of my hand, without saying a word. She turned and walked off. I followed behind her. Later, when Pablo was already tipsy, Helen pulled out the firefly pendant. The joy in his eyes was impossible to hide. Right there in front of everyone, he pulled her into his arms, kissing her non-stop. People around them laughed and teased. All right. Save the rest for when you're alone. Yeah, this is a public party, not a live love scene." Helen giggled non-stop, then shot me a smug, challenging look. She asked aloud, "Pablo, between me and Gloria, who do you like more?" "Of course it's you." Pablo held her close, leaned in by her ear, and whispered, "Gloria? She's just my personal maid." His voice was quiet, but everyone heard it, clear as day. I sat quietly in the corner, watching their sweet, intimate moment, but the sting I had expected didn't come, only a faint bitterness and relief. Everyone was gathered around them. He started telling stories, things I'd done for him in the past, as jokes, for entertainment. Someone laughed and exclaimed, "Wow, Gloria was like cling wrap." Pablo chuckled, "Right? Couldn't shake her off. And now she's even tagging along with me to study abroad. What a headache." No one noticed me in the corner. After quietly listening to it all, I picked up a glass of wine and softly offered a toast. "Happy birthday, Pablo. May your life, from this day forward, be free of Gloria." Chapter 16. Early Sunday morning, I rolled my suitcase out the door, passing by Pablo's room. I heard him shout impatiently, "Gloria, what the hell's wrong with you? So noisy this early in the morning." "Shut up. I drank too much last night. Let me sleep." I jumped a little, startled. I hadn't expected him to be back last night. I paused briefly, then quietly wheeled the suitcase past his door. When I opened the front door and stepped out, then closed it behind me, I felt a strange lightness. Pablo's family had taken me in for 10 years, and in Pablo's words, I had been his maid for 10 years. But now, I had repaid everything I owed. From this moment on, we owed each other nothing. Chapter 17. That evening, the day Gloria left, Pablo finally woke up. He checked the group chat and saw someone had posted, "The two students heading to HKU are Gloria and Eric." He jolted upright in bed, rushed to her door, and knocked. "Is it really that hard to just apologize and admit you're wrong?" No answer. He opened the door, only to see the empty room. A strange sense of panic rose in his chest. He rushed downstairs. In the living room, Nestor was smoking in silence, face heavy. "Where's Gloria?" Pablo asked casually as he sat down. Nestor handed him a sheet of letter paper. It was a letter from Gloria. Each stroke of the handwriting was firm and heavy. She thanked the family for all the help over the years. She said she was going to HKU and planned to stay there afterward. Once she found a job, she would send the money back. Pablo sat in stunned silence for a long time. What kind of drama is Gloria pulling now? Nestor gave him a look. "Gloria's gone. She's not coming back. Pablo held the letter in his hand. Not looking up. Got bold. Huh? Went behind my back and applied for the exchange program. Whatever. It's just a year. She'll be back. I'm not going to the UK anymore. I'll wait until Gloria comes back. Nestor stubbed out his cigarette. His voice hoarse. Gloria's not coming back. He repeated it again, firmly this time, and the storm Pablo had buried under his calm finally broke. He crushed the letter into a ball and threw it hard to the floor. She'll come back. Nestor stayed silent. Pablo grew more agitated. She has to come back. She's just a girl. She doesn't know anyone in Hong Kong. How could she possibly survive there on her own? She loves me. She said she'd always stay by my side. Nestor sighed. You used her love to bully her, didn't you? You thought she'd never leave because she loved you too much. But Pablo, a heart is still flesh. Gloria is human too. She can hurt. And when someone hurts too long, they'll eventually want to leave. Pablo sat there in a daze. Memories of Gloria flooding his mind, her always quietly following behind him, that gentle, determined gaze he once thought would never change. But now, she was gone, leaving only a cold, silent letter behind. Pablo sat for a long time. When he finally spoke again, his voice was low. Did Gloria leave any words for me? Nestor shook his head. No, she left you nothing. Pablo pulled out his phone and tried calling her. Blocked. He opened WeChat and sent a message. Still blocked. All her social media, blocked. Pablo could no longer sit still. A wave of panic, unlike anything he'd ever felt before, came crashing down on him. He began to recall all the hurtful words he'd once said to Gloria, all the cold glances, all the indifference. He had thought she would always forgive him, but only now did he realize he was the one who had pushed her away. Chapter 18. At HKU. The first week, with Eric's help, I quickly adapted to the pace of classes and campus life. He pointed at different sections of the library, explaining patiently, Gloria, this shelf here is for literature. If you're ever looking for novels or poetry, this is your spot. Over there are the academic journals, really helpful for our major. I nodded attentively. Thank you. Without you, I probably would have stumbled around forever. Eric smiled. No need to thank me. Come on, I'll show you the teaching buildings next. As we walked along the campus path, I accidentally tripped over a stone. Eric quickly reached out, steadied me by the arm. Careful. In that moment, I thought of Pablo. If it were him, he would have just stood there, watched me fall, and then blamed me for being careless. 1 month into classes, Eric and I had grown as close as old friends. Looking at my lunch tray, I sighed. Even the best food becomes dull once it's served in a cafeteria. Eric took a bite and chuckled. Perfect timing then. I found this little restaurant off campus. It's great. Next time, I'll take you. My eyes lit up. Sounds good. After dinner, we strolled by the campus lake. The breeze played with my hair, light and warm. Eric looked at me and suddenly said, Gloria, since coming to HKU, you've become more confident, more open. I blinked, then smiled. Maybe because you've been by my side. Having someone familiar around makes everything feel a lot less scary. Eric's voice dropped gently. I'll stay by your side, as long as you want me to. His voice was steady and deep. I looked up. Our eyes met. A subtle tension had begun to stir between us. That night, back in the dorm, I couldn't fall asleep for a long time. My phone lit up. I thought it was a message from Eric. Hurried to check, only to find a text from an unfamiliar number. We're moving out. What should we do with the stuff you left in your room? I froze for a long while. Only then did Pablo's face slowly return to my memory. And in that moment, I realized something. It had been a very, very long time since I last thought of Pablo. Chapter 19. Week 1. After Gloria left, Pablo was furious, seeing he'd been blocked. on every social platform. He swore he'd never speak to her again either. Nestor, however, saw right through his son. He only said quietly, "She won't regret it. Only you will." Pablo laughed bitterly, as if he'd heard a joke. He didn't respond. Week 2, Pablo started bar hopping with Helen, clubbing every night. He liked the feeling of being drunk, because once drunk, he could say "I love you" to Helen, without restraint. But one night, after drinking far too much, he lay on top of Helen, his movements sluggish, and as he buried his face into the curve of her neck, he murmured, without even realizing it, "Gloria." In an instant, all of Helen's desire vanished. She stared blankly at the man above her. Then, with eyes closed, she gently wiped the tears from the corner of his eye. That night, neither of them slept, and from that day forward, a wall formed between them. But Pablo, he never wasted time on emotional turmoil. Within 2 weeks, he already had a new fling. Helen came to find him. "I'm not here to beg for you back." Pablo frowned. "Then what do you want?" Helen reached up and yanked something from his neck. A pendant, a jade charm, shaped like a firefly. She had given Pablo countless gifts, more expensive and luxurious than this, but none of them he ever wore. Only this simple, imperfect trinket he wore every single day. "This isn't from me, it's from Gloria." Pablo didn't even flinch. Helen saw his expression, and suddenly it all made sense. "So you do love her, but you thought she was too poor, not good enough for you. So you used me to express the love you didn't dare show her." Pablo scoffed coldly. "I have no idea what you're talking about." Helen's eyes filled with tears. "I must have been blind to ever fall for someone like you. Pablo, you're pathetic. You don't even have the guts to face your own feelings." Pablo laughed it off, continued partying like nothing mattered. But that night, he didn't go anywhere. He went home, to the house he hadn't returned to in a long time. And there, he opened the door to Gloria's room. The moment he stepped in, a faint, familiar scent lingered in the air, as if she had never left. Pablo sat in her room. For a long, long time, she had decorated it so neatly, so warmly, and somehow, his mood slowly softened. He opened her wardrobe and found that she hadn't taken a single one of the clothes he had ever given her. He froze, then hurried to the vanity, but just as he reached for the drawer, he pulled his hand back, as if afraid. He remembered something Gloria had always loved, the meteor necklace he gave her. She never wore it, said she was saving it. Every night, she'd take it out, just to look at it for a while. It was her little treasure. She would have taken it, right? Pablo finally reached out again, hand trembling, and opened the drawer. Chapter 20. Right there, right at the top, was the meteor necklace. She hadn't taken it. In that moment, Pablo forgot how to breathe. That night, he sat in Gloria's room, the entire night, motionless. He typed out a message, deleted it, wrote another, deleted that too. Finally, in the middle of the night, he sent one. "We're moving. What do you want to do with the stuff you left in your room?" After sending it, he stared at the screen, waiting. He knew Gloria well. If she read it carefully, she'd see this was him, offering her a way back. If she was sensible, she'd take the step. Sure, he'd teased her a lot, but he'd helped her too, hadn't he? Even though, the last time Pablo had actually helped Gloria was back in middle school. He was always like that. Stubborn mouth, soft heart. If Gloria had just coaxed him a little, he'd probably have caved. Because now, after trying so many women, he realized, no matter what, his heart always came back to Gloria. Pablo thought, maybe he really did like her. But after sending that message, there was no reply. Gloria never responded. And of course, they never moved. All of Gloria's things remained untouched in her room. At school, people started noticing. Pablo, the infamous flirt, had calmed down. He was no longer surrounded by women. At a class gathering, someone joked about messaging Gloria, saying how much Pablo had changed. Surprisingly, Pablo didn't stop them. Gloria replied, but she didn't mention Pablo. Not once. Pablo's expression dimmed, right before everyone's eyes. That night, yet another night, he tossed and turned, then finally sat up and called Gloria. Chapter 21. The bar was lit and flickering neon. Music blaring. After a few drinks, my cheeks had flushed, and my gaze was a little unfocused. Eric sat beside me, smiling gently. Gloria, you've had enough. Let me take you home. He stood up and helped me up, his warm breath brushing against my neck. I turned toward him, smiling. Tonight's drinks taste kinda good. Hee. I reached for another glass. Eric quickly grabbed my wrist. No more. You'll get drunk. I wriggled a bit, but ended up losing balance, falling straight into his arms. In that moment, the bar, the music, everything disappeared. All I could hear was the sound of our hearts beating. Perhaps it was the alcohol. Perhaps something more. Without thinking, I reached out and held him. His body tensed, just slightly. Gloria. I looked up. His face so close I could see the faint warmth rising to his cheeks. Then I smiled. Eric, you're actually really handsome. His ears turned pink. He gently tapped the tip of my nose. You're drunk. Let me get you out of here. Eric helped me out of the bar. The night air was cool. Without thinking, I curled into his embrace. He took off his jacket and draped it over me, then hailed a cab. I leaned against his shoulder. Take me to your place. He held me tighter. In front of a villa, even larger than Pablo's. My head cleared just a little. This was Hong Kong, land this valuable. And Eric lived in a house this size? He helped me inside, half carrying me to the couch. I'll get you some water, he said. He turned to go, but I caught his hand. Softly. Don't go. Eric paused, then slowly sat beside me. I leaned against his shoulder again. I think I'm drunk. Eric, are you drunk too? Yeah. After a while, I sat up, looked at him. He looked back. Our eyes locked, and something shifted. He slowly reached out, took my hand. I didn't pull away. I held his hand in return. His fingers brushed my face, gently, his gaze searching mine. My eyelashes trembled. He leaned closer, slowly, giving me time to move away. I didn't. I closed my eyes, and in the quietest moment, our lips met. The kiss was featherlight, tentative, as if I might vanish, as if he cherished what he'd finally found. My fingers clutched the fabric of his shirt. My body trembled. Eric pulled back slightly, his voice low and comforting. Don't be afraid. Eric kissed me again. This time, his kiss deepened, no longer restrained, but filled with long-suppressed desire. I relaxed, slowly starting to kiss him back. His hand moved from my cheek to the curve of my neck, then down my back, pulling me closer. I wrapped my arms around his neck, my fingers sliding into his hair. His gaze darkened. He lifted me into his arms and carried me into the bedroom. As he leaned down over me, he whispered, Gloria, there's still time to change your mind. I nestled against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. I don't regret it. Chapter 22. Eric leaned in again. This time, the kiss had lost its initial hesitation and carried a growing, undeniable heat. Somewhere in the haze, I felt the buttons on my blouse being undone. One by one, it felt like a fire was dancing across my skin. In the glass window, I caught a glimpse of myself, my skin glowing pale. Under the dim light, Eric reached up and turned the lights off. That night, outside, rain began to fall. At first, it was gentle. Then, it grew into a storm. The delicate crabapple flowers outside bent low beneath the downpour. I woke to find a missed call on my phone. Eric slipped his arms around me from behind. No class today. Sleep a little longer. I nodded. Still dizzy, half asleep. I heard my phone ringing again, and then Eric's low voice. Calm but cool. Looking for Gloria? I'm afraid not. She was exhausted last night. I told her to rest properly. I opened my eyes. He was already standing by the bed, with a glass of warm milk. I took a sip. Did someone call me? It was Pablo. Oh. I finished the milk quietly. When I set the glass down, I saw Eric still watching me, his gaze intense and unwavering. Gloria, what are we now? I smiled, leaning into his embrace without hesitation. Let me think. Boyfriend and girlfriend, I suppose. Chapter 23. I never imagined I'd ever see Pablo again, that once proud, radiant man, now standing before me. His eyes bloodshot, his jaw rough with unshaven stubble, and I, wearing the little dress Eric bought me, my hand tucked casually into the crook of his arm. Stepping out of a shopping mall, love is like tending to flowers, and I'd become a perfectly nourished blossom, a crabapple in full bloom, bright and delicate with every smile. When I lifted my eyes and saw Pablo, I barely recognized him at first. He just stepped out of his car, looking at me. Through the crowd, we saw him, too, and in that split second, time slowed, everything paused. The fountain nearby played Jolin's Size Rewind. It all felt like a movie. He walked toward us, step by step, then stood before me, reached out his hand. Gloria, I'm here to take you home. His voice was dry, raspy. Instinctively, I took a small step back, my hand still wrapped around Eric's arm. Pablo didn't get angry. His eyes looked soft, heartbreakingly so. He pulled something from his pocket, a necklace, a shooting star pendant. Gloria. I remembered everything, our past. Come back with me. I swear I won't hurt you again. I'll treat you right. From now on, there'll be no one in my world but you. I looked at him. Every part of him radiated loss. He was like the me from before. And gently, I shook my head. I'm not going back. Eric and I will be living here in Hong Kong from now on. Pablo's voice cracked. Be good, okay? I won't be harsh anymore. I'll treat you well. There was a stubborn fire in his eyes, a refusal to accept reality. He bit his lip, and when he looked up again, his eyes were bloodshot red. I was wrong. His voice trembled, choked with regret. But that apology came far too late. He didn't know, when someone is hurt beyond breaking, drowning in despair, the one who reaches out becomes their light. And my light is Eric. Every corner of my heart belongs to Eric now. I've forgotten Pablo completely, utterly. I'm Eric's girlfriend now. I'll be living with him in Hong Kong. You should go. Please, don't come again. Pablo's voice suddenly rose, sharp with desperation. How long have you even known him? Can he compare to our 10 years? Chapter 24. Pablo's voice grew louder, a thread of defiance and pleading tangled together. He stared at me, like he was searching my face for the slightest crack. I took a deep breath, met his gaze with unwavering eyes. What does time mean, Pablo? 10 years? All that time, all I ever received from you was pain. You never truly cared about me. But Eric, he's different. He respects me. He protects me. He showed up when I needed someone the most. And piece by piece, he warmed me. He healed me. He helped me find joy again, confidence, and myself. Eric held my hand tighter, like he was quietly lending me strength. Then he turned to Pablo. His voice was calm, but firm. The past is the past. Gloria is happy now. Please respect her choice, and stop disturbing our lives. Pablo stood frozen, like he didn't hear a word. His eyes, still locked on me, full of pleading sorrow. Gloria, I really know I was wrong. Please. I'm begging you, just give me one more chance. Just one more, please? I turned my head away and didn't look at him again. Pablo, we can't go back. I've already started a new life, and I'm never looking back. At that moment, people nearby began to glance over, curious. The musical fountain kept dancing, and Jolin's sighs rewind played the line. Finally, I see it clearly. Love can't come back. Pablo swayed slightly, as if he'd been struck hard. The shooting star necklace in his hand trembled. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something more, but the strength had drained from him. After a long silence, he managed to squeeze out one last line. Is there really no chance at all? No. What we had was over before it even began. Suddenly, a car sped past. Eric pulled me into his arms, shielding me instinctively. Pablo stood frozen in place, like a puppet with no soul. Rain mixed with mud splashed onto him, yet he didn't move. He just stood there, watching me. And then, he smiled, a sad, broken smile. Tears silently slid down his face. Then be happy, Gloria. Chapter 25. The sun was setting. Pablo's lonely shadow stretched long and longer. When he finally turned away, that once proud man was crying like a child. Maybe it was because he'd called her last night, and she didn't answer. And this morning, it was Eric who picked up. At that moment, he wanted to die. Just imagining what had happened the night before, between Gloria and Eric, made his chest ache so badly, he could hardly breathe. That was the moment he finally realized Gloria might really not love him anymore. Maybe it was the plane ticket he bought in desperation. Maybe it was the scene at the shopping center, her leaning against Eric, smiling bright and carefree, in a way he'd never seen before. Then he knew he had mistreated her for so many years. He wasn't good enough for Gloria. Maybe it was that final moment just now, when Gloria said, "I'm never coming back." Everything told him Gloria would never return. He used to think he had all the control, that no matter how he treated her, Gloria would never leave him, because she couldn't. But only now did he understand. It was Gloria who had all the power. She was the one who let go, and he was the one who couldn't. He was the one left with regret. Finally, I see it clearly. Love can't come back.